Welcome back. In this episode, Noel and I are going to talk about everything from his travels to Egypt to my journey navigating ADHD, anxiety, and the super scary road to getting support. We're unpacking cultural stigmas, medication, and why community really matters when it comes to mental health. So let's jump on in.
Are you smiling?
Everything that you are feeling on the outside is me on the inside right now. It's like playing, my head is playing ping pong, and I just want to go to
What's going
sleep.
on?
I just have it like it's Monday morning ish. Yeah, Monday morning, and I don't want to do anything. Like that's it. That's it. That's the beginning, end, and middle.
Anything about anything in life?
No, no. But what time is it over there?
What time? It's
Wow, how are you guys feeling? It's okay, Habibi Egypt edition.
it's okay. Egypt edition. I'm literally like we're at the Nile. Like it's right there. Yeah, they hooked us up in the hotel, and actually, so I have the longest story ever. But one of the things I was telling my husband when we first checked in, because okay, backtrack. I need to tell you everything before we get to the check-in. United Airline rescheduled our flight 2 hours before we were supposed to leave on Saturday to 9 p.m. So pushed it out 3 hours. That's the 3 hour layover that we had in Heathrow, London, to catch the second flight to Beirut, Lebanon. So we can't catch it. And they booked us to like some other flights where like we go to Athens and then we go to Beirut and we go to Frankfurt, Germany. And then long story short, the flight would be 3 days instead of like landing the next day. So instead of 24 hours, over 30 hours. Canceled that one, booked another one last minute as we were canceling on the phone. The other one going through Toronto and what was it? Toronto and straight to Egypt. No, it was Toronto, Heathrow, and then Beirut. When we landed to Toronto, they said actually those airlines don't talk to each other. So you have to check out your luggage at each airport, leave the airport, and go back to the custom at each one of those stops. There is no way. We had like an hour and 20 minutes, like layover between them. So when we got to Toronto, we did everything. We did check out, went through custom, left kind of the airport to Canada, went back in to board the UK airline Virgin Atlantic. They were like, oh, they left. I'm like, what do you mean they left? They're like, oh yeah, they're not doing like you can't get your boarding anymore. We got there like 50 minutes before the flight. They said, yeah, they stopped at 1 hour before the flight. I was like, this is not making any sense. So anyway, we're fighting now with the agency that had the itinerary that we booked through because they were blaming us, saying that it's on us to figure out if the connections talk to each other. I'm like, no, you sold me this with the expectation that I should be able to make it all. And if I couldn't make it, that's not on me as the client. So anyway, we're stuck in Toronto. We got a hotel, slept overnight, booked another flight from Toronto straight to Egypt. So we didn't go to Beirut anymore because we're supposed to go to Beirut, pick up my mom. So we're going straight to Egypt and we're in Egypt now. And my mom is coming in like, I don't know, 2 hours. Long story short, we were supposed to land in Egypt at 7 p.m. today. We ended up landing at 6 a.m. in the morning. Our check-in was supposed to be at 3 a.m. So this is what I want to highlight is the hospitality in the Middle Eastern countries.
Yeah.
US could never even get close to that. I'm just saying.
Why?
It's just everything. Like they just knocked at us like in the afternoon, asking like if you would just want random cleaning, and you guys are just like, no, you have to like go ask for it, or like, oh, sorry, we just do it in the morning between this and that. But we land at 6 a.m. Our check-in is at 3 p.m. And then that's what I was like telling my husband. This is this is the reason why I left Lebanon because I wanted more structure and like laws following in the US. And like over here, they're like, Sam, no problem. We'll get you a room. You don't like we didn't have to even pay anything. They just checked us in like 12 hours before our check-in or whatever. Free charge. Just like, yeah, we've got the exact same room. It's just level 17 instead of 19 that you originally requested. I'm like, thank you. And we slept in. No
We were
charge,
staying
no
in a
nothing.
DoubleTree like a month ago and like tried to check in 2 hours early and they charged like $50 for over 2 hours.
That's exactly what we're talking about. And I was saying, like, this is the parts about the Middle East that I like is that the hospitality tops everything else. Like they're not gonna follow a rule because, and we're in Hilton. It's like an international brand, but because it's in the Middle East, there's just no rules. They're just like, you know what? You're tired, here's your room. Go shower and relax. Like, wow,
I
thank you.
just still can't believe your travel agency had the audacity to say it's your fault that you didn't like that's why I'm paying a travel agency to make this
Exactly.
travel easy. The
Yep.
audacity. We are not gonna plug them
Yep. That is exactly that.
to our
And
20 followers. Yeah.
we're not. Um, we're using ChatGPT for that. We like put on ChatGPT. I was like, pull up the Toronto. Like my husband's doing all of that though. Like pull up all the Toronto rules and regulation for transfer. Should they eat like who's in fault? And then like pulling the website is like, nope, you're at fault. You're at fault. We just copy pasted like the message back. And we're like, counter that, and then they're like, nope, you're wrong because this is where this is wrong, this is wrong. So it's just been amazing to use PT, and like the logic makes sense that it's on our side, not on their side, because they were actually the only website who offered us that trip, and that's why we booked it at that time. Otherwise, if we knew all of that, we would have not booked it. You know, we would have booked just like one flight to somewhere and then figured it out from there. You know what I mean? So for
Yeah.
him to come and say that, no, it's on you to, oh, well, first he argued that no, all those airlines are connected and you should have received your luggage in Beirut. And because of that, that's not my fault. It's you not making it on time to your boarding location. So we're going to consider that as a no-show. I'm like, that was not a no-show. Like we did make it to boarding. We had to like check out our luggage and all the airlines said that no, they're not interconnected. So it's a miss on his end. Uh, we're winning this. We'll see. We just need the refund.
100% you have to win that.
Plus the hotel charge that we had to sleep over and pay for it. We're asking for that too. So I guess we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, they need to pay for that. One time I was flying out of France to Portugal or something, and then the flight got delayed and then canceled. And it worked out so well because I was doing a connection to get to the US because I wanted a cheaper flight in the first place. But then because they canceled, I just booked like a direct flight. It somehow was super affordable. They paid for that whole flight, they paid for the hotel. Like I ended up saving so much money because of that cancellation, and they paid for everything.
You know what? Actually, the day off when we were in Toronto having to deal with it at night when we booked the hotel, we were extremely frustrated, tired. We are like, just go to sleep. It is what it is. When we woke up the next morning, we're like, oh, that was really nice. Like we got to sleep in, relax, wake up, and like now board the second straight flight to Egypt.
Yeah.
We kind of realize it's like, you run through the bad things, but like now you're seeing like the positive side of it. Long flights like that, I always was like, I just want to book a straight flight, long flight, and just get done with it and be there. But when the time you get to that location, because it's long, you're so exhausted. And now we want to do the opposite. So what you're saying about if you take flights that are longer layover, like a day or something, and you stop somewhere, they usually are cheaper than getting like the shorter layover because you're going to be dragged for longer. But it would still be cheaper to maybe get a hotel at that airport, sleep, refresh, wake up in the morning, and you broke that flight into two, where like it's not as exhausting, like a 24-hour flight. Like what we did 4 hours to Toronto, stopped there, and then we did 10 hours to Egypt. And now we slept in, we woke up, and we're like, okay, let's go. Like, so I think we're gonna be doing that. Like next time we fly like 20+ hour flights, we're gonna break it in like that where we would have a location. Like, I think even like if we go to Thailand or whatnot, maybe we'll do like 2 days in Dubai or something, and we'll just get to see Dubai. Like take a longer layover and save some money on it.
You were talking about direct flights. I always prefer actually, not that I've done it, but like in my mind, I would prefer to just get it done with, like the 20 hours, whatever flight. I don't want to do stop because I hate the boarding process and the unboarding. Unboarding? whatever.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's how I was until I saw what happened here. I'm like, oh my God. Like honestly, it felt the stressful and exhausting part was dealing with those ticketing and canceling and fighting this and that. But otherwise, if you think about it, because Toronto is more of an international airport than Tampa, it would make sense for me. Like next time, like fly to Toronto, sleep over, and then fly straight from there to whatever my location is. Done. And you don't have to
Yeah,
deal
yeah.
with like layovers. If there's the late first flight, you're gonna make the second flight or whatever the case might be. So, hey, how are you? Good, how are you? Thank you. So yeah, I guess we'll see.
Okay. What are you guys doing later today?
It doesn't too much. It's happening. Tyler's asking me if we can clean the bed. Tyler. Thank you so much. We went to breakfast this morning and Tyler overheard me saying a lot of shukrans here and there at the airport. And then I left him, like I went to the buffet, I was like getting something, and then he was just sitting there and like the server who was helping him, like Taylor kept just saying shukran to everything. And the guy was like, you don't like it? And he's like, no, I just like the word shukran. I just keep saying it. And the guy's just like cracking the whole. Anyway, what else is going on? How are you?
Okay. I think the biggest thing that's happening for me right now is trying to get an ADHD diagnosis. That is the biggest thing in my life right now. And I feel like it's necessary and that I think it'll make a big difference in my life.
So walk me through that. How did it start up? How did you think about it?
Okay.
Why do you think it's that? All of it.
So, you know how like you send memes to your friends or whatever of like, this is you, this is me, whatever. And so I think for a very long time, me and a friend of mine like just would do that. We'd be like sending each other the ADHD between my sister, my friend, and I. And I'm like, oh yeah, I think I have it. I think I have it. But like, and then I'm like, I have executive dysfunction, and I don't know, like all of these things, right? Because I get a lot done. I think people under like I guess under appreciate or under don't understand like how much struggle it is for me to actually get things done.
Uh,
It's really hard. Like there will be days where I will be like tearing trying to get through work because focus is so hard for me. And so I'm like, I okay, whatever. But then in like 2023, a friend of mine was like, I'm tired of guessing. Like, I'm just gonna go talk to a doctor. And then he
uh,
did. And that same day, they were like, yeah, no, this is very clearly ADHD. And then he just felt like a big sense of relief or whatever that like he started to work or like actually work around it. Like, what does it mean to remedy this as opposed to just joke about it? And that stuck with me. And so then recently I happened upon Adderall and I was like, okay, let me see the effect of this. Let me see what happens. The most productive day of my life, which is something that they prescribe for ADHD. It's a stimulant. And so I don't know what it does, but it just allows your brain to focus or something. And like all of the fog that is normally in my head when I'm trying to make decisions, when I'm trying to accomplish simple tasks, and you've seen like on the back end of us like doing this show, for example, I'll have ideas for days, but then like when it comes to just execution, frozen, just frozen stuck. And so anyway, I tried it and like that whole day was amazing. I just got so much done. So I was like, you know what, let me go talk to a professional. And I hadn't talked to a professional all my life because I have personal family reasons and watching people be like addicted to opioids and like how psychiatrists like overprescribe and the whole opioid crisis got my family. So I was very resistant to any doctor telling me like I'll give you a pill for this. So anyway, I was like, all right, we're gonna get over that. We're gonna go talk to a psychiatrist. So I did, and she was like,
when was that?
last week. So, like, I tried the Adderall and then, like, I scheduled an appointment for a psychiatrist because I was like, if
It
it's
was
not
quick. Okay.
yeah, because I was like, if it's not ADHD, what is it? Because that really helps me. And so, obviously, I don't want to be getting street drugs, right? Like, I want to be prescribed under the care of a doctor and all that stuff. And if it's not ADHD, then what is the problem, right? Because I've been in therapy for 2 years. We have been working on like my family trauma, blah, 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 genocide, all the stuff that people go through, I guess. And
Normal.
normal, very normal. So anyway, so the psychiatrist was like very quickly like, yeah, it looks like you have a combined ADHD. So there's like the ADHD where you are hyper, like can't sit still, like constantly fidgeting. And then there's the kind where you're always spaced out and like just can't really stay present. I have a combination. It shows up in both of those ways. And she asked me questions like, do you lose things a lot? Like, do you forget things a lot? And I'm like, brother, do you understand? Like every time I park my car, I forget where my car is. Every time I'm
Wow.
leaving, like, like every time I'm leaving my family's house, the joke is definitely left like her wallet, her keys, or something important behind. Like, and so I'm like seeing all of these like clues as she's like asking me these questions, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I just didn't I just thought I was like forgetful. So it shows up in so many ways that are annoying and that like make me feel stupid from time to time. But like it just becomes the joke and you're just okay with it. But like even, my partner kind of was like getting upset at me because I keep losing the mailbox key. And I'm like, I don't I don't know if it's just because I'm not paying attention, like if this is a
Uh,
responsibility thing, or if it's like I really can't help it. Like I just can't help that I'm not present. I don't know. The last thing I'll say about that is the psychiatrist was like, what happens is if because she was like, "Were you a good student?" And I was like, "Yeah, the best." Like I got good grades growing up, but like the pressure was there, like if I didn't get good grades, it would have been an ass whooping or something, right? It wasn't okay, especially in a brown family, to come home with not good grades. So I think the pressure was there. But now, like in adulthood, there's the only time I really get a lot done is when the deadline is like yesterday. And I'm like, crap, pressure's on, gotta get it done, and then I'll get it done. So she was like, okay. So there's one more test I have to take. It's called the QB test or something. And she was like, oh, once you take that, then we'll be able to like figure out what kind of route we want to go with medications or not medications or whatever. So I have that test in like 2 weeks or a week.
this is amazing.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about all of this?
I
Are you
feel like
nervous?
I am nervous because if it's not ADHD, my therapist was like, I was telling her, like, I went to my therapist. I'm like, so I have all these updates. This is what I did. And then I was like, yeah, we better get this ADHD diagnosis. She was like, not you hoping for ADHD amount. Like, that's not, that's not the goal. I was like, I just need an answer. Like, I just need an
Yeah.
answer, because
But it would
it's
make
not,
sense if it is.
yes, it
Because
would.
that's something like even us with this podcast, like how many times you just like, I want to do it, but I can't finish. Like you're really good with starting, you have the creative ideas, but it gets too overwhelming to even put the steps in place to finish it, and it would make sense.
Yeah, that day that I took Adderall, I remember I was like, "Oh, Noel," I hit you up and I was like, "I got like episodes 1 through 10 on
Yes.
Spotify clips and da da da," and like I had so much like even like cook like at the end of all that day, I still worked out, cooked, like did everything I had to do, and I was like, this huge fog that's in my head was just gone, and I was like, this is amazing. So I asked, because of like what I mentioned about the opioid crisis and like specific really harmful examples that I grew up with, I was like, what are the side effects? Like, what is this addictive? Like, what is gonna happen? Because I'm just afraid of big pharma, and I think that's a normal reaction these days. But she said it's only addictive if you abuse it. And then she started talking about different ways people take it. She's like, for it to have like the best impact, you do need to take it like consistently, but some people will just take it like Monday through Friday, and some people will take the weekends off or whatever. So there's also that, right? Like once we figure out what medication feels safe, then monitoring that and figuring out like, trial and error. But to your point of like, how do you feel? I don't know yet because we don't know that it's ADHD. She said she has a hunch that it's combined, blah, 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 but that test will verify.
Did she mention anything about the dosage?
No.
Because my husband went through something similar during COVID time where he always knew that he, deals with like depression and anxiety, high depression anxiety level. And we were doing couple therapy at that time, and we were getting to a place where like the things that he would snap at, they're not worthy of snapping. It's just couldn't control his body. Like you were saying, where like I'm trying to focus. I'm trying to remember where I parked my car. It's just like not in me. Like it's just out of your control. Um, and I remember like one time during COVID, we were quarantining at home. I literally made him a sandwich and I brought it to the office, and he like flipped out on me. I'm like, I just fucking made a sandwich. Like it's not that big of a deal. He's like, I'm in a meeting or whatever. But anyway, that was kind of like the turning point where like, okay, like this is really something I need to look into. Like it was there was no trigger there, I guess, in that sense, other than just like, dealing with it internally or whatnot. So long story short, he started to see, yeah, a doctor to get prescription, but the way they explain it, like they start with smaller dosage and you see the side effects of it because there's multiple different brands of it, because some of them might have a side effect than the other. And then that way you're not going full on one thing, and then you try it out for like a week or something, and then if like that is working, you're not seeing side effects, you can move up to a little higher dosage, stay with the same medication. That way you can build the trust that, okay, I'm not seeing any of those side effects and I'm not jumping all the way, because like it would make a huge mood swing, so you don't want that either. And then even when you decide to come off of it, if like you decide to, which he's not planning on it, but it has to be gradual as well so that your body is not. So that's one thing that I learned. Maybe that's something to consider asking. That way it's not going from like nothing to like boom, and you might have bigger side effects. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's important, and I will ask her about that if we get to that step. The other thing that she offered is like, so there's like stimulant medication and non-stimulant medication. And so like one is like the controlled substance, like Adderall, for example, where there's like a lot more like restrictions around it and whatever. And then the other one, she was like, well, until we do all the testing to like figure out what we want to do, stimulant route, then here I can prescribe you a non-stimulant. But then ChatGPT and I had a really good conversation about about the non-stimulant option, and I was not okay with the side effects. Like the side effects were nausea, mood swings, suicidal ideation, and I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!" Like, no, not Adderall didn't have those side effects like at all. So I was like, I am not. So I just left that at the,
But
you know.
side effects doesn't mean for everyone. Sometimes they overdo it to protect themselves legally, but it might not be the case for you. So if you're starting with a small dosage and see, I'm not saying you have to, but if like nothing else worked, it doesn't mean the side effect is going to be affecting you the same way, especially if you're starting with a smaller dosage and moving up to just keep it maintained.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I just don't want to take that risk. I think like since like you also know like
It
personally
is. It's
kind of what I'm
scary.
dealing with right now. And so like
Yeah.
I don't need mood swings on top of that, you know?
Yeah. Because now you would be second guessing yourself, like, is it me or is it, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
I also think my body is really sensitive to these things. Like I just know that from like birth control over the years, my body has very fast reactions to things. So I just don't I don't want to risk mood swings and whatever. And then she also did say like a lot of what I'm saying sounds like anxiety and not depression, but just anxiety. And she was like, "Do you want to try like anti-anxiety meds or whatever?" And I was like, "No, let's not like start pumping me full." Like, right. Like, I think between like this option, if we do the stimulant route and my bi-weekly therapy that has been actually working wonders on my life, then like that's what I'd like to do, like controlled
Yeah.
variable at a time. Um, because I don't think I'm that far off the mark to want to just do like a full setup. I don't know what the word is.
No, 100%. I mean, obviously, medication should come after therapy, but we know you've been doing it for years at this point. It's not wrong to consider the medication, but to your point, I don't think you deal with much anxiety, at least from what I know of you.
I don't think so. That's what I tried to explain to her too, is like, I was like, I definitely get anxiety around like performance in general, right? But that's an artist creator. And so that is, I think, comes with the territory. But she said that what happens is for a lot of people who have had ADHD since childhood, but it has not been prescribed or like diagnosed, is what I'm saying. For a lot of people who have not had ADHD diagnosed, it ends up festering as anxiety because
Mm.
you have all of these struggles and you don't know what's wrong and you're performing past the issue, and there's an issue there, right? It's like walking on a broken foot, I guess.
So it's like your anxiety is coming from your underperforming in other areas, or like I'm gonna forget, or I'm not gonna find this, or I'm gonna all of that. So now this is where it's pushing anxiety because you're not performing in the other areas like you want to. So now you're scared of failing.
I think it's that, but also anxiety, like I said, like even trying to focus is really hard for me, right? So then there's all this anxiety as I'm trying to focus, then I feel like a failure and all these other things that happen because it's like, why can't I just get this report done? Why can't I just send this email? And I think
But if you
another,
can't focus, you can't get the job done. If you can't get the job done, then you're yeah. Huh.
yeah, it all
That makes
compounds.
sense. That makes sense. Yeah, but I don't think anxiety is probably what I mean, I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but I don't think like that is the number one thing to look into. I think maybe ADHD makes the most sense, at least from our conversations. We understand that it's more the keeping focus on that task for a long period of time is what is really challenging.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it shows up in other ways too, like all of the projects I start but don't finish. Like I think that's another indicator of it. So even thinking about my kids' book, right? Like that's been forever and I just need to get it over the hump. I feel like one day of an actual medicated day, like I cannot tell you how many projects across like different areas I was able to complete work on that day and not feel stressed at all. It was amazing. This is like the biggest commercial for Adderall, which I didn't mean it to be because, obviously go to the doctor, figure out what works for you. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer.
I do love this conversation because I don't know if people know how to start talking about this. Like we're literally just doing it and like we're just chit-chatting about it. But this is how the conversation starts. And I do think like especially our Middle Eastern culture, we have such a big negative stigma on it. And obviously, I won't just say, "Oh, I don't want to just go get medication," but I have experienced it, not myself, but in my relationship, how it changed a lot. Like it helped a lot within the relationship, and like even for him, like at work, like how he's functioning and doing. Like he was on it like 10 years ago and decided to stop it, but he was telling me like even when he started it 10 years ago, he was like in a serving job and he's like, he just started to walk into the restaurant or like the catering place or whatever, just like running the place. Like it went from like freaking out, like there's 200 people that we need to figure this out to like let's freaking go. Like it was scary, like because your body is not used to like this. But that's kind of sad too, because can you imagine if that is the reason, like the potential of what you'll be able to create and produce that has been held back for all those years is because we never had that education about it. I'm not saying abuse it and use it, but I'm just saying if that is the case and it's done correctly under supervision and like with a smaller dosage and finding that right balance, can you imagine how life changing that is? And not just for me and you. I mean, different topic, autism. You know how many people that I've met through my life that had autism within the family or friends that I grew up with, but never been diagnosed, and we always just like heard like that crazy person or something like that. And now as an adult, knowing what it is, how sad it is now looking at this, people that are like now in their 30s, 40s, or 50s, but we just don't do anything about it because we're just in denial and it was just lacking education. That's a different topic. I'm just
No,
seeing that in that
I think
area
you're
as
right.
well.
Like even we saw that in Mo, right? Spoiler alert. Like we saw that in Mo that the brother needed to get diagnosed and the mom was like,
Exactly. Yes.
no, there's
Yes.
no issues here. Don't shame
Yep.
us, like whatever. And it's like, he needs help. Like he needs solutions. Like we need to support him. And that's what support looks like. So I agree with you. And it is like the starting conversation is like, okay, who's the professional that we can consult with to figure out what is the course of action here? Because like I said to you earlier, like I feel almost relieved just because I'm getting help and there's a professional's eyes on the situation but I'm not gonna be relieved until I actually have an answer for why like have such a hard time focusing. And
Right.
again, looking at my track record, right? Like it looks like I have a successful history and I'm very proud of that, mashallah. But like it took so much hell. And to your point, maybe it didn't need to. And maybe the future successes don't need to be hell. Like even that day, the biggest takeaway, like I remember in therapy with, my therapist, there was a day where I had a huge meltdown and like I'm talking probably 10 years of grief came out that day. I was like, I just don't want to make the decisions. Like I just don't want to have to be responsible for decision making anymore. And like I'm an adult crying about not wanting to make decisions. So clearly, like there's trauma there and there's just fear, deep fear there. But the day that like I said, that I had that prescribed, not prescribed day, like decisions were so easy to make. Like I did not second guess myself. I just to your point about your man doing the catering and like going in and went from 0 to 100. I had no fear about the decisions I was making. I just was a decisive person that day, and it felt so good. So I think that that's also like something I'm looking forward to because a lot of the reason I don't finish projects is those last decisions, that giving myself permission to know that whatever I said is good. And some of that is internal work, but some of that I'm finding out may not be internal and I might need help.
You know what? I'm just realizing as you're speaking, like how hard it has been, if that is the case, for you to be able to, oh my God, it has such a huge life impact on people. And now it makes more sense why a lot of people, men or women, who decide to like, you know what, I just want to be a stay-at-home mom, or I just want to do this or that, because sometimes like making those decisions are like so hard, and maybe it is the case, and maybe it's not. I'm not saying that, but if it is that case, like how hard is it to be in your shoes, having to like juggle all of that, and it just be easier, like, hey, maybe I just need someone to just do it for me. You know what I mean? So the solution might not be that, but like this is the only solution we know, is that I just someone can just take it away. It's just so, oh my God, yeah. That's and it adds in other areas, like even thinking for me, talking to people about finances, I don't deal with that. I don't have like ADHD or whatnot. I can focus and do that. But maybe that is a lot for them to like, hey, where do I start? Like, do I do my credit cards? Do I do my bank? Like, do I pay it? Like, no. And then in the morning, just like, fuck this. I'm just gonna make that purchase and move on. I can't even take that time that you, but because it's so overwhelming to, oh my God, this
Yeah,
is
think about like you and I. Like even when you did my finances with me, like there was a lot of systems I already had in place. Like I tried to tackle this issue, but it has so many steps that it gets overwhelming that I needed you to physically hold my hand and say like, "Okay, we're going to do this step together now." Like, like go look up your bill, go look up the exact amount it costs. We're going to go write it down. And like doing each one of those steps made me want to like, you know, demolish a building. And again, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know if, like I could hear people right now reacting, and that's because there's people who are not so compassionate and not so whatever, but I can hear them saying like, oh, well, you're just being lazy, or oh, tough luck. Like I worked really hard and I didn't have all these baby issues and whatever. Well, good for you. But I have all of these problems, and I think I'm tired of trying to be that tough person. I am tired of trying to work it out on my own grit and will. It has made
well,
me
we
honestly,
first, we don't care about those people. Fuck those people. Every person is going through their own thing. So if that is your opinion, fuck your opinion.
yeah.
That's just how I feel about it. I do have to ask though, and let me know if this is too much sharing. When we did our finances, do you remember that moment at the end where we were like able to save so much money, how you felt about it? Can we talk about that or no?
Oh, yeah, I think I still have it. It was over 1,000. Like we spent like 2 hours together, and it was over $1,000 per year that we saved.
The moment that I want to talk about is that after we did that, I think I remember it was like 4,000 or whatever, something like that,
Yeah,
between
yeah, yeah.
subscriptions and stuff like that. But I do remember like I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, look at what we just did. And I remember you put your hoodie on, you put the zipper up, and I was like, how are you feeling? And you're like, I don't know. I'm like I feel like you were feeling shame in the moment because you were like, I just needed you to sit with me and help me like do it step by step, but it was just a lot to do it by myself. And then I wonder if at that time I was thinking, oh, maybe you were just thinking like shame because you didn't do it. But if ADHD is the cause of it, then you know what I mean? Like you're taking on now shame of like, it was just me being lazy to not sit down and do it. It's just you needed help. And that help came in the form of like maybe someone like me sit down, or maybe if you decide to do medication, you might be able to do it easily by yourself. Again, we're not promoting medication. We're just talking it out loud. If that is the case, how life-changing in so many areas could it be for so many people?
Yes, I think all that adds up because, like, even so, I had my annual review at work, right? Go with me. We're going to take a long route to get there. But I had my annual review at work, and one of the questions is like, what can you do to improve or whatever? Like, and I had said, like, or like, if you fell short in any areas, what do you think the reasons were? And one of the things I said is, I feel like I internalize a lot of the lack of resources we have as my own failure. So let's say, in nonprofit jobs, this is a big thing where you wear multiple hats, right? Like you cannot just be an advocate. You have to be an advocate, a fundraiser, a marketing person, or whatever. You have to do all of these things and you have to do them well because your job and the community all rides on you doing all of these things at an underpaid level, underfunded level.
Uh-huh.
And what starts to happen for some people like me is like my company doesn't have certain resources to give me, so I'm doing a lot of the work and I'm making up for it. And then I start to spread myself too thin. And then I start to fail at different things or not do things as well as I could. And so instead of me saying, hey, I'm actually not well resourced here to succeed, I internalize it and say, I'm the problem. I'm not doing as good as I could do. If I spent every minute of these 40 hours working and then did some overtime, I bet I could have, met that KPI. And so I'm connecting this back to the shame of the money thing is the same thing. So like it could have been ADHD as one of the reasons. And to your point of like how you educate in the first place, the psychology of money, it could be trauma around the psychology of money also causing that anxiety. But I internalized it all as my failure because I'm not able to accomplish the tasks of checking on my finances, creating that plan and following up with that plan. So I internalize all that as shame, guilt. And looking back, like I do see myself like holding the zipper and like that's definitely like key ML behavior. And yeah, I internalized it all instead of going like, why did I wait this long to do these steps that I know I'm capable of doing? What else might be causing it? I was just like, oh, it's my laziness. Oh, I just should have done it. Like, and it's like, nah, something else was at play. Maybe. Maybe I'm just lazy, but I don't think that's what it is.
I don't think so either. Wow. This is so brave for you to share. This is out in public. Like, I don't know, you can be more vulnerable than that. This is really scary.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
so
think I
proud of you.
care mostly
I'm
because
so
like
proud of you.
thank you. Thank you. It's okay, Habibi. I don't care about
Yes, yes.
sharing these things. I think I have found that my vulnerability and like just coming out and saying like this is my secret like has always had other people on the other side being like hella relieved and saying like, "Oh my God, me too," or "You spoke
Me
my inner
too.
monologue." Yeah, yeah. And so I psychologically speaking, it could be a quest for attention or it could be the way I heal. Like it could be anything. But like I don't care because I continue to see that what's on the other side of me being vulnerable and transparent is other people get the courage to go get their answers and feel seen also. So if this helps me feel seen and helps them feel seen, it's a win fucking win.
No, I do think what you're saying is so on point, especially we're not used to talk about this, or we don't like literally. I think my generation, your generation, we're like the first in our families that are even considering it. I don't have like a parent that I can just go talk to about this, or even a family member. No one does it in my whole family. I mean, we do have couple like younger generation that like I talk to my brother, they're like starting to consider it for like their kids if like there's something or something like that. um, the two most important things at the end of the day, or at least the takeaways of this conversation, is one, therapy to see like, is it truly insecurity and shame on my end, or to your point, like this job, am I just internalize it? It's just because we don't have the internal resources and I'm just taking it on. Or two, we do have all the internal resources. I've been doing therapy and working on myself. I do have the confidence to say, like, we have the internal resources, but I'm still not able to get that job done because I can't even sit still to get it done. I have everything covered. Then maybe there's a bigger area that I need to look into. And that could be whatever other stuff that are beyond our control that you cannot by talking or doing, what do you call it, like verbal therapy or whatever it's called.
Talk therapy.
Yes, that could be the answer, because I mean the way I describe it for people, it's not any different than you have young kids who are born with like diabetes. Do you go tell them just don't eat sugar? You'll be fine? No, you tell them like go get tested. If chemically your body is showing signs of diabetes, even you're 7, 8, 9 years old. Like I had a kid with me like at class, we were like 11. He used to remember do like diabetes shots and whatnot at like 10 years old. So what would you say to them? You would not say, "Suck it up, stop eating sugar," because that's not like even if even if they don't eat any sugar, it's still an imbalance within your body that you can only take care of it through medication. So yeah, I think it's just taking the right steps, educating ourselves, being aware of like what's going on, because obviously there's a big pharma world that might want to convince you about the wrong things. But at the same time, I don't like, because I've had those arguments with a lot of like my aunts about that specific topic where like they're like, no, 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 this is horrible, period. There's no discussion about it. I'm like, it's not any different than like someone going getting a back surgery. You go and consult multiple doctors. You don't just go with one doctor and see what it is, because there's horrible doctors and there's good ones. Even if they were all educated and have the degrees, doesn't mean they all have your. So, yeah, I think it's just a mix of everything. And some people just take that one case and just apply it to everything and say, like, "This didn't work. We're not going to consider it, period. I'm not going to be that person." And we talk a lot about this, but I think this is really important because we don't talk about it. Like with my family, like only my cousins are the ones that actually we can talk about this with, like people my age and younger, but like older generation, they can't even know where to start that conversation.
Yeah, I think it's important to just keep reiterating that. Like, I think what you're saying is when the body has a problem, we look for remedies. We look whatever that remedy is, right? Rehabilitation, medication, whatever it is. And when the brain has the similar problems or problems that are showing themselves, we don't go look for those solutions. We just let it fester. And it like the mind is very important and we don't, even for people who don't believe in therapy, like something doesn't have to be wrong for you to go to therapy. Just like you go get a checkup on your body, annual blood tests, annual tests on your health to make sure all the levels are right. Why wouldn't you go sit with a therapist once a year and just say, "Hey, this is how my year went," and like just do a checkup on your fucking brain because we all have blind sides. And so yeah, yes, I guess this episode is like check on your brain like you check on your body.
Self-care. Yeah, I mean, even therapy. I know we're jumping into ADHD, but you're very on point with even taking a step back. Even therapy, people don't even know what it looks like. It's just not been an example. And most people would like to, there's a big shame. I think because back in the days, therapy was used to like treat the crazy person.
Mhm.
And there is some correlation to that. Like we saw in the show Mo, where like the mom was worried that he will be treated differently. So why even put him in therapy? Well, he has truly struggling that no professional has like the education at this household to help that person. Like there is tools that people have been doing studies and research on for years that they're able to diagnose and help that kid get there faster. What we're doing right now, this is therapy. This is literally what a therapy session could look like. The only difference is that neither one of us are licensed. But if one of the the two parties is licensed, you get to answers faster because that person has been studying where like they know where to pick up on and where to take you with the conversation so that you start getting there.
No, and to elaborate on that, I think that's a big component that we don't talk about in general is the community aspect. It's like, and I think that's an effect of colonization also, where like everybody's an individual, everybody has individual success. You take care of your like immediate family and you don't give a fuck about outside of that. And community is what's going to keep us together or whole, right? So there's this, for example, this woman who created this app called Hey Auntie for Black women specifically to like find other Black women intergenerationally to get advice from and mentorship from and like it doesn't have to be that, oh, I only want to talk to other people in marketing because I'm a successful person in marketing. No, I want to talk to other Arab women and learn about what they struggled through and how they like got through it and what it looks like in our community. Like what have we faced and how do we face it? And so, like to your point about you and I, that's why we even came up with this show. Is like we have similarities in what we faced and how we faced it within this culture. And you're my community, like you are my person who has helped me face my finances and all my other things that will not be mentioned now. Like it's because you're my community. So a lot of people also go through these things in isolation without talking to someone else about it. You don't have to go straight to a fucking professional, but maybe you set up your community and your support system around you, where you can bounce ideas off of them and who will also support you when you say things like, I'm gonna also go to a therapist on this one, Mac. Like I'm gonna get a checkup.
I think the point that could be a little bit contradicting here is
Mhm.
yes, I 100% agree with you on that, that it is about community. I think what shifted with time is back in the days, we didn't have professionals to help us in those areas. The professional used to be like the sheikh or like the priest at the church or the grandpa at the house who's got more experience. But if I'm being honest, neither one of them, like a religious person or an elderly, have the actual training in those specific areas to help. Like they did the best they could with what they have. Like when you have, I mean, that's just me personally. I've always felt like for Christians, before you get married, the couple would go and have like pre-marriage counseling with a priest who's never been married. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I think it's good if you would go to them for spiritual advice and relationship with God, but there is areas where I think we didn't have like a therapist or someone who has done so many research, has had to do like therapist has to put, I mean, your friend, how much work she had, like you put over 1,000 hour of actual work and practice to even be licensed to sit down and start talking to people. It's not just like a game. We're like, yeah, just you're good to go.
And on that note,
So
you can also get a therapist that is culturally or like subject wise appropriate. So you can get a therapist who is versed in Christianity or Islam or whatever the case may be, who also has the skills of a therapist to your point.
100%. When my husband and I were looking for a therapist, we wanted someone with experience with LGBT couples because couple counseling for two men, and honestly, personality wise, we both are very alpha in this relationship, is very different than what you used to see in the dynamic of a man and a woman where one of them is alpha or the other one is, you know what I mean? Like very hyper between the two. So yeah, we had to look for someone who have had experience or studied that specific dynamic, and that could fall into race or whatever the case might be for people. But back to the community point, what I was trying to make is this is what community used to be like because we didn't have those resources. So it was nice to just go to that person to help in that area. But I think with time and more education, we started to realize that I don't know if I want to go to that person. I don't know if I want to go to my mom. I don't know if I want to go to my uncle. And I know people still like to do that. My personal experience, it's not always the best advice that I get on a personal level because there is a conflict of interest there. Like sometimes the advice that my mom is giving me because she is worried that I'm not gonna get married and have the kids that like that life where like it could be influenced in that area or whoever, you know what I mean? While I like that separation with the therapist, that is they they have nothing like you doing better is not affecting their personal life in any way. It's literally their advice is just about you. So we did shift from community to individualism in that sense. However, I do see us be able to get back to community, like you were mentioning, me and you creating that when you start having individuals who are thinking the same way. Imagine you talking to me and I don't understand what you're talking about like this, and I just shamed you about ADHD or about like that's not going to open up a conversation. Even if I don't understand or like you don't understand what I'm going through, we are open to have those conversations, and this is where I think the shift could happen with those communities and helps out when there's a less judgment.
I think hands down. I think this the word like supportive community or community that understands you is really important. And I think it's an and situation. Like I don't think we can thrive. The ideal setup would be that just like a king has his round table of advisors, right? Like you would have your spiritual advisor, your financial advisor, your tax advisor, your medical advisor, your legal advisor. Like each human being that like functions in our society should know who am I going to call when I have a medical issue, legal issue,
Yes,
etc.
build the community. Yes,
Yes. So build your confidants or your advisors, right? Professionally. And then you have what can't be replaced by anyone, like your community, your ancestral guidance, your they're going to fill in the gaps of your history, whether it's medical
100%.
history or like, just historical purposes only. That can't be replaced, and so they need you need that in addition to all of these different advisors who are key experts in these areas.
Yep, 100%. This is so good. This is honestly one of the best conversations we've had, especially that I know in our culture it's not. So,
I don't know if this is just my marketing brain or ADHD, but immediately as you that last two sentences you said, I'm like, that's the trailer right there. That's the teaser for this episode. Like,
well, maybe it is. Let's
yeah.
do that. But I love it. I love it. This is such a good. Well, I didn't know Egypt would have this much effect on us. Like we should do more of that.
Yeah, 100%. Because today, think about it, like where my brain is at 11 a.m. when I'm struggling to like get my work started and task initiation is a problem. You caught my brain at an area where I was like, fuck this shit o'clock. Like I can't. I just want to call out today. I don't want to do this. But what's gonna happen is I'm gonna go and then work late to make up for the time. But a lot of that time is gonna be spent just staring at the screen, trying to figure out what's the next task I have to do.
I think what we should do is keep up with it and share with us if you feel comfortable with like what comes out of your appointments and how your journey goes. Because I do see a lot of people benefiting because people don't know where to start and you're literally going through it. Even if the decision ends up being that's not for me, at least people can see why was it not for me or sharing that knowledge that why it could have been for you or you still decided no or not or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I'm happy to keep up with this. And I do want to say there is a reality here that I'm acknowledging that I do have health insurance and it was easy for me to set up an appointment with a psychiatrist. It only cost me a $50 copay. And me saying even only $50 a privilege in and of itself. So there's a lot of people that don't have resources. So, I don't want to put that on me, but I will say search for the resources anyway, search for social services, like don't block it at I don't have health insurance, so I'm gonna let this problem fester. I just wanted to put
Sure,
that out there.
sure. Sure. Or at least knowing that it might be it. Do the research. Like now, ChatGPT and all those resources that are out there, just read it, educate yourself, even if you're not able to get diagnosed, but it start heading towards, okay, maybe it's not me. Maybe there's something I need to look into down the road. Even if financially it's not available today, but maybe at least you take a step away from the shame and the guilt that you were talking about.
Just take a step away from the shame. Yes, 100%.
All right. We're on time. I'm going to see the pyramids tomorrow, go tour Egypt. I don't give a fuck about what's going on in the US. I don't have to worry about it. Might
Yes,
never
please
come
give us
back.
pictures. No, you're coming back. Well,
Yes.
please take pictures and videos so we can share them.
Yes, will do. Will do. So excited. All
All
right.
right.
We'll see you next week.
See you. Love you guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, please consider leaving a comment and a review. It helps us improve and reach more people.
We're all just trying to figure it out one conversation at a time. So go easy on yourself, trust the process, and remember, it's okay, Habibi.